ちょっと前回途中で中断してしまったから続きのラジオを聞いてなかなかミッションが先に進まないね。ピースウォーカー。まあ最初の方はしょうがないんだけど、ターゲットプラクティスの確か途中。あ、もう何回も同じことやってるし。フルトンのブリーフィングのファイルライブラリーの方だよね。あれ？あ、これフルトンリカバリーについて。どこだったかな？こっからか。こっからだね。コールドウォーは確か前回聞いたのか。よし。びっくりマークがこれ2つになってるっていうのは本当に重要っていうことなのかな。1個はまあ、とりあえず聞いてみるか。
So it's been more than 10 years since the Cuban Missile Crisis, huh?
I don't think we'll ever forget it.
No kidding. Those 13 days starting October 15th, 1962, were probably the closest we ever came to all-out nuclear war. The Russians deployed nuclear missiles to Cuba. America responded with a naval blockade. Then Russia shot down an American spy plane. I was still a teenager back then, but I remember what it felt like to be one step away from nuclear war. The adults were freaking out.
If it wasn't for the Cuban Missile Crisis, there might never have been an Operation Snake Eater. And...
What's the matter, Snake? It's not like you to get all hypothetical.
I guess not. It was the reassessment after the missile crisis that paved the way for the hotline between Moscow and Washington, and also for détente. That's irony for you.
Oh.
The Treaty of Tlatelolco was enacted to make Latin America into a nuclear-free zone. It bans the testing, use, manufacture, production, acquisition, storage, and deployment of nuclear weapons. The impetus was pretty obvious. The series of crises triggered by the deployment of nukes in Cuba.
Not hard to imagine. Those 13 days had the whole world frozen in fear.
Of course, the country that started it all, Cuba, hasn't actually ratified it yet.
Still, the treaty's backed by over 20 countries. Anyone flouting it risks becoming an international pariah.
True. Opinol would investigate, no doubt. I heard they used Japan's 3 non-nuclear principles as their model when they drew up the treaty. I think the Treaty of Tlatelolco might have been their way of asking nuclear powers not to use nukes against them. That's the biggest difference between the treaty and the 3 principles. I guess you could call it a 4th principle.
と次はこれかな。コスタリカの Abolition of its Army.
So Costa Rica abolished its army back in, what, 1949? Pretty gutsy move for a Central American nation at the time.
Yeah, well, they'd just come out of a civil war. I'm sure they were driven by a desire to avoid another tragedy like Paz said. But I think they had a more compelling reason. Army coup d'etat are a way of life in so many Latin American countries. Imagine seeing that up close.
No army, no coup. Makes sense.
Plus, their economy was in ruins. So they honestly didn't have any money to spend on an army anyway.
Yeah, but weren't they on less than friendly terms with Nicaragua?
Yeah, and in fact, Nicaragua did end up invading. But the Civil Guard fought back and the OAS brokered a ceasefire. The US and the rest of the OAS had their back, and they used it to full advantage. For a quarter century, they survived in the powder keg of Central America. That must have taken some serious diplomacy. Even if the Civil Guard is pretty decked out for a police force.
Must be tough to be a country without an army.
The CIA's activities in Central America.
Hey Snake, mind if I ask you something?
Since when did you start asking permission?
So, you used to be part of a CIA paramilitary unit, right?
That's right.
Ever do any ops in Central America?
No, not personally. But there were other units who did all kinds of stuff.
I remember the Bay of Pigs invasion back in '61. The papers had a field day with it.
Operation Zapata. That was the CIA code name. The whole thing went south.
Then there was Che Guevara, being hunted down in Bolivia. I heard the CIA had a hand in that too.
There were several units similar to mine. MSP, SOG. They'd recruit former special forces, train them as intelligence agents, and send them on deniable covert paramilitary operations. One of those units trained the Bolivian army in counter-guerrilla tactics.
And then had them shoot El Che.
So the story goes.
How to pronounce CIA?
Around here they say La CIA instead of CIA, huh?
Nothing strange about it. That's how it's pronounced when you read it in Spanish.
It has the feminine noun ending a, so they use the article la. Apparently some people have taken to using the term UCLA.
That's a new one to me. What's it mean?
It stands for Unilaterally Controlled Latino Assets.
Meaning they're local agents?
Yeah, that's the idea. Washington uses them like pawns. Nobody knows who they really are or what they're doing.
と次はこれかな Peace Constitutions おおこれもすごいな
You were saying Japan has a peace constitution too.
Yep. Japan renounced war in Article 9 of its constitution, aspiring sincerely to an international peace based on justice and order. The Japanese people forever renounce war as a sovereign right of the nation, and the threat or use of force as a means of settling international disputes. In order to accomplish the aim of the preceding paragraph, land, sea, and air forces, as well as other war potential, will never be maintained. The right of belligerency of the state will not be recognized.
You know it by heart.
Some things you never forget.
Impressive. There were some parts I didn't quite get, though. Like the whole means of settling conflicts thing.
Yeah, that's been the subject of debate. Whether or not it forbids any and all use of force. The current Constitution was originally drawn up under the Allied occupation. The first draft was even submitted by Allied GHQ. So naturally, there are some who feel the Constitution was imposed on Japan by foreigners.
Things like that are never simple. Same for every country, I guess.
One thing's for sure, though. Not having an army let Japan focus on economic recovery after the war. In that sense, it's the same as Costa Rica.
増えたどんどん派生して増えていくねなんか読む内容が聞く内容が
Kaz, you were in the Japanese self-defense force, right? I thought that Article 9 you were talking about earlier prevented Japan from having an army.
Yeah, and that's another subject of controversy. The Self-Defense Force is an organization for the purpose of defense. Article 9 of the Constitution does not deny Japan's right to self-defense. Therefore, the SDF is constitutional. That's Tokyo's official stance.
Sounds complicated.
Call it what you will. It's a distinctly Japanese way of interpreting things.
もう実質軍隊みたいなもんになってるけどね今はもう自衛隊は The U.S.-Japan Security Treaty
The U.S. has military forces stationed in Japan, right?
Right. Even though the Allied occupation ended, American forces are still stationed there under the U.S.-Japan Security Treaty.
Unlike Costa Rica.
Part of it stems from the occupation, but Japan also occupies a key strategic position from America's perspective. It's next door to the Soviet Union, and close to China and North Korea as well. It's integral to the security of Pacific Asia. For America, Japan represents a barrier against communism.
What about for Japan?
As you might expect, there's deep-rooted opposition to the alliance. In 1960 and 1970, when the treaty was up for revision, there were mass protest movements against it, especially in Okinawa. The U.S. only gave it back to Japan 2 years ago, and American bases are still concentrated there. It's a heavy burden for the Okinawans to bear.
Then why don't they scrap the treaty?
Lots of reasons. There's the imbalance of power with the U.S., of course, and if Japan pulled out, they'd be losing the nuclear umbrella America provides. And as for whether the JSDF could defend the country after the Americans left, I really couldn't say. Costa Rica is in a similar situation. They depend on the Inter-American Treaty of Reciprocal Assistance, the so-called Rio Pact.
So, the countries with peace constitutions end up having to rely on other countries' armies. Kind of ironic.
On the flip side, not everybody in America is satisfied with it either. Some people argue Japan is freeloading off America's security guarantee. And you know how Japan's industrial exports are making inroads in the States.
Yeah, I've got a Japanese camera myself. Best damn camera around.
Japan's low defense spending allows it to invest more in economic recovery and expand its share of the American market. That's a bitter pill for Americans to swallow.
なんかほんとメタルギア、すごいね。ゲームとは思えないくらいなんか政治的なことだったり、民族的なことだったり、宗教的なことだったり、いろんな情報が満載だね。
You know that today, Japan is under the American nuclear umbrella.
Right.
The U.S. vowed to retaliate against any country that launches a nuclear strike against an allied country. That promise deters nuclear attacks against America's allies, hence the term nuclear umbrella. But suppose the Russians nuke Tokyo. Would America really nuke Moscow in return? If they did, the Soviet Union would undoubtedly retaliate. Would Washington really be willing to risk having a bomb dropped on itself in order to avenge Japan? I'm not so sure.
Don't tell me you're still worried about Japan. After all these years?
It's not that.
To be honest, I'm not convinced either. But Moscow faces the same dilemma. Maybe Washington wouldn't retaliate on Japan's behalf. Then again, maybe it would.
So you're saying Moscow wouldn't want to risk being attacked either?
The whole concept of nuclear deterrence is entirely hypothetical to begin with. When you get down to it, it's all smoke and mirrors.
今はどっちかといえば、日本にとっての脅威はロシアっていうよりは北朝鮮の方が圧倒的に高い。てかむしろ今ロシアとは結構いい感じの関係になりつつあるからね。そこまでロシアの脅威っていうのは感じないね。
Japan shall not possess, manufacture, or allow the introduction of nuclear weapons into Japan. Those are the three non-nuclear principles set forth by the Japanese government.
Allow the introduction? That's funny. Some of the U.S. warships that visit Japanese ports are armed with nukes. Or are you going to tell me they transfer them at sea onto other ships every time they visit?
You raise a good point, Snake. But the Japanese government doesn't recognize it as such. The introduction of nuclear weapons into Japanese territory would need to be agreed upon in advance. America hasn't made any such agreements. Therefore, they aren't bringing nukes into Japan. That's the official excuse.
Doesn't sound like much of an excuse to me.
I don't blame you. Keep in mind, though, Japan suffered actual nuclear attacks. Anti-nuke sentiment there runs deeper than you think. I suppose the government's not really in a position to admit that sort of thing.
So tell me, Kaz, how's the self-defense force you were in different from an army?
The JSDF is set up for national defense. It's not configured for aggression against other countries. It's what you'd call exclusive defense.
Exclusive defense?
It's the fundamental strategic posture of the JSDF. No preemptive attacks. Only the minimum defensive action necessary after an enemy attacks.
Anything defined as self-defense, then?
The JSDF originated as the National Police Reserve. Back then, American forces stationed in Japan were being sent over to fight in the Korean War. So in a sense, the NPR was filling a gap.
Police, huh? Reminds me of the Costa Rican Civil Guard.
Yeah, exactly. They're also dispatched to provide disaster relief. The year before I joined, they had a hell of a time trying to rescue some buses that got hit by landslides.
ああ、これ確かに気になる。
So why'd you quit the JSDF?
Because I didn't have a reason to be in Japan anymore.
A reason?
My mom had died 3 years earlier, so I didn't have to care for her anymore. With her gone, there was no point hanging around in Japan.
Yeah, but a man with your talents could have risen pretty high in the ranks, I imagine.
I don't know what they made of me. Could be it actually alienated me from the brass. And personally, I could never get used to the idea of exclusive defense.
Meaning?
On a strategic level, I can see how a country could go with the exclusive defense model used by the JSDF, and I've got nothing against my fellow soldiers who believe in it. On a tactical level, though, it just rubbed me the wrong way. To put it simply, I was itching for a real fight.
I figured.
And I felt as long as I was in the JSDF, I'd never be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with my father, who was in the U.S. Army. Seeing Yukio Mishima's suicide didn't help either.
Yukio Mishima. The guy who wrote The Temple of the Golden Pavilion.
The way he questioned the status quo hit home with me. Not that I admired his vision or anything, but it did get me thinking, that's for sure.
まさかの三島由紀夫が出てきたぞ。ちょっと待って待って。これはもう聞いたのか？びっくりマークついてないってことは。
Don't forget to give the MSF staff assignments. Where you place people will determine how Mother Base grows.
Right.
That goes for me too. Assign me wherever you think is best.
You? I thought you were second in command.
Don't worry, I've got that covered. But MSF is still small, and I don't have the leisure of sitting around on my butt all day.
これ聞いたね。
Life's funny sometimes, isn't it?
What brought that on?
We first met as enemies on the battlefield. And now here we are fighting side by side.
You mean Columbia?
Yeah. After I quit the JSDF. I made my way there and got myself a position as a drill sergeant for a band of revolutionaries. Despite the fact that I'd never seen a day of combat.
I see you had the gift for talking business in Spanish even back then.
Oh, come on, stop it. You're making me blush. Unlucky for me, though, you were in the service of the Colombian Army. I remember it like it was yesterday. It all happened in an instant. You guys ambushed us, and half my unit was taken out. My mind went totally blank. I couldn't keep it together. My whole unit was wiped out. And I was left half dead from a bomb blast.
Then, as I was leaving, you yelled out at me. I came all the way from Japan to be here. My place is on the battlefield. Then you asked for my help, saying, I want to be the one to end it. I remember being surprised that there were still samurai in Japan.
You guys came over to me. I had a grenade hidden under me, but even then you were too fast. The second I pulled the pin, you grabbed the hand I was using to hold the grenade with both palms.
I didn't want it to go off. I'd heard samurai were a proud bunch. I wanted to know why one of them would stoop so low as to try to take his opponent with him.
And I said, I'll never lose again. We'll never lose again.
Yeah. We'll do whatever it takes, but we'll never be beaten again.
Then, I passed out from the blood loss. When I woke up, I was in your camp's infirmary, stuck full of tubes. Why'd you save me? Your enemy after I tried to kill you.
Because you swallowed your pride and fought with everything you had.
I just didn't want to lose.
You found a way to fight back, even in the face of death, even when you knew you were going to die. That's the mark of a true warrior. It's not about gain and loss, or victory and defeat. I looked at the way you lived your life and saw the path I needed to take. As a warrior.
Wow. I never knew that. And that's why you...
I realized then that the battlefield doesn't only divide people into allies and enemies. Sometimes it tells you more than just who's an ally or who's an enemy. Sometimes it helps reveal your true comrades.
Like you and me, huh?
That's right. And 2 years later, here we are.
そういういきさつなんだ。初めて知った。おこれもまたすごいな。スニーキングミッションはもう聞いたのか、これは。
Can I ask you a favor, Snake?
If you ask nicely.
To make MSF bigger, we need to do some recruiting.
Yeah? What's your point?
I want you to avoid killing enemy soldiers as much as possible and send them back using Fulton Recovery. Not much we can do with a corpse except give it a funeral.
Obviously.
Put him to sleep, knock him out, hold him up even. And if you do have to fight, try to leave them near death instead of dead.
And then use the Fulton Recovery system. Sounds easy enough.
You know what'd be really nice, though? If we had a way to Fulton recover anybody at any time. Don't carry any more gear than you need. If you try and stuff your entire arsenal into your backpack, it'll be too heavy and your mobility will be impaired. You'll only be hurting yourself.
I know. Take only what you need. Every rookie knows that.
You can check the weight of your gear before heading out. So make sure you do.
Got it.
そうなんだ。重さって関係あるんだ。
Even a born warrior like you gets hand tremor, Snake. It happens even when you're full of stamina, and it only gets worse when you're tired, especially with larger, heavier weapons. Obviously, you'll get better aim crouching than you will standing, and when you use a scope, setting your sights on a single point will gradually give you a more precise aim. As we develop better weapons at Mother Base, though, you may gain access to new, low-tremor versions of the same guns. So if you expect the shakes to be a problem, you might want to put some resources into R&D.
I'll keep it in mind. Then again, the more you use a weapon, the more your hands get used to it. Sometimes it pays to be faithful to your gun.
Choosing the right uniform is crucial. Pick one that matches the mission objective and your own combat style.
よし。あ、なんかまた増えた。終わったと思ったらいきなり増える。
Jungle fatigues are made for jungle combat. They provide decent protection and let you carry a fair number of weapons. Your standard uniform, basically. The distinguishing factor is that your camo index will vary a lot, depending on the area. Wear a pattern that makes you blend in with your surroundings, and your camo index goes up. Wear something that clashes, and you'll stick out like a sore thumb.
Pick the right pattern for the occasion. Sigint used to lecture me on it all the time.
スネークの声渋すぎだろ。日本語はまあ言うまでもなく有名だけどさ、スネークの声は。英語版のスネークもなかなか味があっていいよね、なんか。ああ。このなんかしゃがれた声というかさ。
Naked. That's exactly what you are with this uniform. The pants are the same as the jungle fatigues. Obviously, since you're exposing your bare skin, your defense and camo index are gonna be low. On the plus side, it's so light you can move around quicker.
Good for showing off muscles, too.
Hey, Snake, I heard they gave you your old code name because you used to run around with your shirt off. Is that true?
Don't believe everything you hear. They called me naked because I went in without gear or food. I had to procure everything on site.
You mean they sent you into the jungle without even a pair of pants? On a halo jump from 35,000 feet? Sweet Jesus, you are a legend.
You're busting my balls, aren't you, Kaz?
Little bit, yeah.
Hilarious.
さすがにパンツくらいは履いてたよ。コープ。おー、すごいなんかいっぱいある。聞いた方がいいのか、これ。一応聞いてみるか、ちゃんと。
Cooperative operations, or co-ops for short, is the term for taking on missions in teams of 2 or more. The basic co-ops unit is a 2-man cell.
Even a single teammate is great to have in enemy territory.
And there are actually quite a few things you can't do by yourself. You can help each other climb walls, divide up mission roles. On the other hand, if one of you is spotted, the other one's screwed too, and it's kind of tough for 2 people to hide in one small space.
Good point. But what's more important than anything is how close you are to your comrades.
Well said. Working as a 2-man cell can make the mission easier or harder, depending on how well you work together. It's also good to note that if you've got a clear, specific objective, it can be to your advantage to use an even bigger team. That said, teams of 3 or more run a much greater risk of being spotted.
Yeah. In a sneaking mission, the fewer people you have, the easier it is to get around.
In co-ops, you can trade weapons and equipment with your teammates. You can also display your teammates' inventories from your weapon or equipment menu. Ammo is shared too, of course.
Ammo, sure. How about life? That also shared?
Yep. You all sink or swim together. Your teammate dies, you die. You need to be within a certain distance of each other to swap items.
Yeah, I know. I've been in this business so long I can virtually see that distance. Looks kind of like a ring in my head.
That's why you're the boss. Okay, we'll call it the co-op ring, and entering the ring will be called going co-op in.
まあ今のところはまだコープやる予定はないから、まあある程度まあ自分で進めてって、なんていうか、まあ自分のやり方とかも確立して、慣れてきて、それでも進められないような難しいステージとかあったら、コープを要請してみようかな。でもまず人いるかどうかもわかんないしね、もう。これだけ時間が経ってしまってるからさ。まあ基本はソロでやっていきたいと思う。
Another thing. During a mission, you can assume what we'll call the Snake Formation. Same as your code name, but probably not standard operating procedure for a guy who specializes in going solo.
Damn right. There's only room for one snake.
In co-ops, though, it's a highly effective formation. The signal for Snake Formation is to tap your teammate on the shoulder.
Can't form up until you're close enough to reach out and touch someone.
Entering Snake Formation is called going Snake In. When you're Snake In, the soldier at the front of the line controls movement. The soldiers in back focus on scouting and attack.
そういうこともできるんだ。
Just because your heart stops doesn't mean you're dead immediately.
Right. The heart just circulates blood through the body. But stopping it does cut oxygen supply to the brain. You'll be dead soon after.
Which is why we have CPR. Let's say your heart does stop. If someone performs CPR before your brain cells die, you can recover. In co-ops, when the life gauge drops to 0, it means you're in a near-death state. You won't be able to move or anything else. Performing CPR on near-death teammates can bring them back into action. Of course, performing CPR in the middle of battle isn't exactly safe. You're leaving yourself exposed. Even so, in co-ops, you and your teammates are all in the same boat. Don't think you can get away with leaving one of them behind.
I wouldn't think of it. And I'd expect them to do the same for me.
If you let all your teammates die during a mission, there'll be nobody left to save you.
And then, it's game over.
これやっぱりそう、自分もある程度慣れてさ、上手くなってからじゃないと絶対コープとかやっても俺迷惑かけるだけだ。今の時点で多分コープやってる残ってる人ってのは絶対上手い人しかもういないだろうからさ、今から始める人とか多分ほとんどいないだろうから、俺みたいなど素人がさ、ピースウォーカーの今コープなんてやっても絶対に大迷惑をかけて終わりになるだけのような気がする。まずはちょっと自分が上手くなることの方が優先だな。
Building trust with your teammates is essential to success in co-ops.
That goes without saying. I'm not gonna let somebody I can't trust cover my ass.
The measure of that trust is called camaraderie. Think of it as an indicator of how strong your bond is with your co-op's teammates. The friendlier you act toward them, the greater your camaraderie.
Give me an example.
Your camaraderie will be higher if you're co-op in than standing apart. Saving a teammate's life with CPR also strengthens your bonds with them. Things like hitting a teammate with friendly fire will cause your camaraderie to go down.
Makes sense.
Camaraderie carries over from mission to mission. The next time you go co-ops in with the same guy, you'll start off strong. But be careful. If you keep taking new people with you on missions, your camaraderie with past teammates eventually reverts back to its original level.
Got it. I'll have to make sure to renew old friendships once in a while.
The performance benefits gained from Snake Sync in co-ops depend on your camaraderie. It's always best to keep things cool with your teammates. Stand still when you're Snake In, and you and your teammates will start to get in sync.
In sync?
That's right. Stay still together and you'll enter Snake Sync mode. The synergy will give you a boost in performance. You'll move faster, recover faster, and have better camouflage.
In other words, we're at our best when we're in the same groove.
You got it. If you've got a big task ahead, can't hurt to take some time to get in sync. Like I said before, the benefits you get from Snake Sync depend on your camaraderie.
I hear ya. It's a lot easier knowing you've got someone you know and trust covering your back. Lets you focus that much more on what you have to do.
あと少しだ、あと少しだけど、これミラーのやつでやって、まだパスのやつも残ってんだよね。
If camaraderie represents how much your teammates trust you, then heroism shows how high your reputation is.
Heroism?
That's right, heroism. Your reputation affects your ability to recruit new members to MSF. With higher heroism, it won't take as long to convince guys to join our cause and send them back by Fulton recovery.
So, how do I get this heroism thing to go up?
Lots of ways. Complete tough missions, avoid unnecessary bloodshed, and don't get caught by the enemy like a deer in headlights, or you'll never be heroic. Also, getting out there and attacking the enemy in co-ops will boost your reputation among your teammates. Of course, it'll get the enemy gunning right for you, too. But don't sweat it. Be yourself. Be the boss. From where I'm standing, you're plenty heroic already.
Knock it off.
Knock it off. Cut it out. 口癖だよね、スネーク。
Seems the R&D team's been busy working on co-ops only weapons.
Co-ops only.
Like a gun with extreme firepower, but only when 2 people fire it at once. I hear it's still in the concept stage.
I know some rocket launchers need 2 people to operate, but a co-ops only weapon.
Hey, if they come up with something good, you'll have that much more reason to go co-ops. Why don't you check in and see how they're doing every once in a while? In co-ops, maintaining close communications with your teammates is crucial.
Absolutely. Losing track of each other on the battlefield is a good way for a unit to get itself wiped out.
Enemy positions, orders, distress calls. When communications break down, you get picked off one by one. Now about co-ops comms.
Co-ops comms?
It's a radio system for communicating with co-ops teammates. First, press the start button to open the menu. Then select co-ops comms. After that, press one button to choose a category, then another button to select the actual message. So basically, you use different combinations of 2 buttons to send different messages.
Easy enough.
You can set which messages go with which buttons during mission prep.
Sounds like it's going to be a pain to send messages until I get used to it.
Then why don't you assign co-ops comms to the select button? That should make things a little quicker and easier. Just go to select button under options.
I'll give it a try.
また増えた。言霊って何？あれだ。
Snake, you familiar with the Japanese word kotodama?
Kotodama.
Unfortunately, there's no direct equivalent in English. But to keep it simple, let's call it a sort of battle cry.
Battle cry, huh?
Right. But kotodama is actually a deep Japanese concept. Koto means word, and dama means spirit. It signifies that words have power that affect our reality.
Are you feeling okay?
I guess I made it sound kind of like mumbo-jumbo, huh? Seriously, though, haven't you ever felt energized when a teammate cheered you on? Or the other way around? Ever had your legs cut out from under you by a thoughtless remark?
Yeah, I know the feeling. Words can have a powerful mental effect on people.
Same goes for co-ops comms. Offering praise to somebody could make them run faster than usual, or make somebody who thinks they're done for get up and fight again. See what I'm saying?
I get the picture. So it works in reverse, too.
The powers of words are many and varied. Try using them for yourself.
スペシャルアイテム。おおちょっとこれ一回止めた方がいいかな。いや、ミラーのやつは全部聞くか。
Snake, about cardboard boxes. It feels kind of weird me explaining this stuff to you, but there have been a few recent developments in cardboard box technology. So just to be safe, here goes.
Go on.
You can do much more with a box than just hide under it. You can put it someplace and leave it there.
Huh?
You can get on top of it and use it to reach high places, or hide from the enemy in its shadow.
I like what I'm hearing so far.
And that's not all. You can even put items in it and send them to co-ops teammates.
Really? I never thought of any of that. Damn. Is there anything a cardboard box can't do? Every soldier should have one.
Yeah, well, don't get too excited. This isn't exactly what they were made for.
Which reminds me, don't you think the boxes around here are a little on the big side?
You're right. I bet 2 people could fit under one box, if they packed in tight enough. They call them love boxes.
Love boxes?
Of course, you don't need a love box to fit 2 people inside. Any box of similar size will do. Up to 2 people can fit inside a cardboard box.
Tell me how.
Move close to a box with a teammate inside, and an icon will appear. Then press the action button. You'll stay inside as long as the action button is pressed.
So, same as snake formation, huh?
Exactly the same. In fact, when you put on a cardboard box when snake in, both of you can climb inside.
Ah, a box big enough to hold me and my buddy. These are fine times we live in, hey, Kaz?
Yeah. Sure, boss.
すごい食い気味でビッグボス。ウォークマン。
Snake, about that cassette player Galvez was carrying.
What about it?
That was no Russian imitation. It was the real deal. A prototype developed by a Japanese company.
Get out of here.
It's true. It had the Sony logo on it. The product name is Walkman.
Walkman.
It's a revolutionary new concept. Music you can listen to on the go. You can take it with you when you leave the house. I gave it a listen, and you wouldn't believe how good the sound quality is for something so tiny. And in stereo, too. Think of the technology that must have gone into it. And that tape is equally amazing. The treble range is clearly superior to any other cassette ever made. Stylish, too.
How'd Galvez get his hands on a model that's not even out yet?
Beats me. It's not the kind of thing I'd expect some stodgy Soviet to be into.
Me neither. Tell you what, though, it's a fine piece of work. It'll let me listen to my music when I want, where I want.
I never thought I'd hear you say that, but I have to agree. Me? I'm a recording freak, and I always used to laugh at the idea of a portable player. But now that I've seen it in action, I've changed my mind. Being able to take your music with you. This could be the start of a revolution in music.
Could be.
I'm having the guys at Mother Base study and analyze it. Who knows? They might be able to come up with something even better.
確かに。今では当たり前になってるけど、当時で言ったらすごい画期的なことだよね、確かに。冷静に考えてみたら。あ、これで全部か。いや、ミラーのやつ聞いたのか。パズのやつも。おお。パズのやつも残ってた。これはもう全部聞いたもんね。これはもう聞いたね。で、ミラーのやつも全部聞いた。よし。じゃあ次パズのやつを聞けばいいのか。ちょっと一回時間が止めます。